leaning into the energy, tuning into the energy, following the energy is just life changing. Our mind, to your point, wants everything to have a finality. It wants to be, everything's compartmentalized. Everything is like locked in and closed in. And so it takes a strength to be able to recognize that that's our mind. And can I tune into that energy? Can I soften and relax into it? And that it guides you when you practice it and learn how to do it. Welcome to Energetics with Kim and Veronica, where we invite you to nourish the energy of your inner why, your inner healing, magic, prosperity, your curiosity, clarity, playfulness. Welcome home. Today we are talking about influencing change in an expanded way. Influencing change with others in ways that we can do that other than just telling people what we want and asking them to change. I'm Veronica and I'm here with Kim. Hey, Kim.
Hello, Miss Veronica. Hello, everyone. And if this is your first episode, welcome, welcome. And if you have heard us once or twice or 1,000 times, hi.
Welcome back. We love that you're part of the conversation, the energy, the consciousness, everything that comes through. Kim and I were talking. I was sharing with Kim about how I recently had to navigate something with my daughter. The last episode was about my daughter too, so she's a main player here. But she's 8 years old, and last year she was going to a public school, and we were told she has a genetic disorder. We were told she's quite behind, which we knew. And so we had to do a formal assessment, and she was diagnosed with a learning disability, which I don't like that word, but that's the word that's used. And so we had to make a decision about what we were going to do with her for school. And the funny thing about her is, even though she's delayed and all these things, she loves school. She loves it. She loves the people. She loves the teachers, the principal. She loves everything about it, which is so fun to see. And so we're faced with this decision of we're going to likely have to move her because it's not going to support her long term in the way that would benefit her. And knowing going into this decision that it was going to be really tough for her, I was really contemplative about how can I lead her through this change instead of just saying, you're going to new school, it's done, where she's going to have a very big emotional reaction to it. She's going to have resistance. She's going to have confusion. I really thought about, okay, well, how can I lead her through this? And one of the things I do, and I know you do as well, Kim, too, is following the energy. So when I check into the contemplation, there's an energetic guidance that's available. And that's a skill set that is either innate or can be learned. And Kim and I are happy to teach you. But really checking into the energy of, what would benefit her most to lead her through this change. And so, the first thing that really became clear to me was to make her feel like she was part of the decision. So we went to visit kind of the different options. We went for visits for the school, and I let her know that we're looking for different options for school. And I made it really clear to her that she was going to be part of the decision. We're going to make the decision as a family, even though that wasn't necessarily the truth, because the truth is I would have to make a decision in the end. But I really wanted her to feel like she was contributing, that she was sharing her thoughts, that she was doing her own assessment, that she was part of it. And I also knew that she wouldn't benefit from me just telling her over and over again that she's moving. So I gave a lot of spaciousness. We started at the time of this recording, we're in September. I started the conversation in April, and I would not say anything for a week or 10 days. And then I would just drop a seed of, I wonder about your new school, what that might be like. And that allowed for her own contemplation to come forth over a long period of time. And I didn't make the decision until the end of June. So we had a couple of months where we were all still contemplating, but she would ask me a lot of questions. Well, would the new school do this, or would they do that? Or how would I leave my friends? How would I leave the principal that I love? And so I gave a lot of spaciousness to be able to work with her on all of that. And we would talk about the fact that, we do go through periods of time where we leave people, and that's just very natural in life. And these are the ways that we can navigate it. And that doesn't mean they're gone forever, but there's the separation and the coming together. And so it gave us an opportunity to lean into, bigger conversations that I think could help her long term. And then by the time that I made the decision, it was at the end of her school year. She was at the height of like, I'm loving the school, I'm loving everything about it. So we made the decision of what school she was going to go to, and I didn't say a word to her. I let her ride that whole end of the year in that high, loving it. You know, she would say things about how she's so excited to come back to the school, and I would just not, affirm or deny, and just allow her to ride that out until we were 2 weeks into summer. She now had a 2 week space from the school, and then I started dropping the seeds again. Well, maybe we'll go to another school this year, like very gently following the energy, tapping into her energy, really allowing that to lead me to what felt like, okay, now I can drop the seed here, and then I pull back. And then I drop the seed, and then I pull back. And I did that for a couple of weeks. And I was always available for the conversation, but I didn't force the conversation on her either. And so by the time we got to this week, where she went to school, for the first time, this new school, she was open and receptive. And, she did ask questions about missing teachers and whatnot from her prior school. So we talked through that a lot. But in the end, it's just been a fantastic experience. And I think that leading that change through that whole process of just having more ease and space with it, and really allowing her to come along for the journey of the decision and the change, influenced her ability to embrace the change. And she's just over the moon now about her new school and her new teacher and all of that. So Kim and I were just talking about how, there's opportunities when we think about people in our life or decisions we have to make or influencing change with others. There's more available to us than just, let's say how it is, let's make the change and like hope they come along for it and fight them along the way if they're not up for it.
Oh my God. Listen, as you were sharing, so much awareness was coming up. Like, I was like, oh my God, what if we navigated our own lives like that? Right? The gentle little giving ourselves space, not having to make up that final decision right away, but, getting curious with the wondering instead of the, no, I'm going to hate it. Okay, the universe has our back. And guess what? Now I'm actually programming myself to hate it. But just getting that curiosity and that wonder and planting seeds. And like you said, the universe doesn't dump things. Well, it does sometimes, but hey, but yeah, taking that space, like you said, it's that space. And also I love, for me, a big key of what you're sharing is, you would give her the contemplation, because that's what you were doing by saying, oh, I wonder what your new school might be like. But you were also aware of the timing. You weren't saying it while she was still in the school that she loves. You were letting her have that experience of love without, you were just letting her have that. And then, so the timing, that divine timing piece was there. So you waited and, when we can allow ourselves to soak in the moment instead of wondering what we're going to do with that energy, that's what you gave her. You gave her that gift of the space of loving where she was at in that moment without trying to figure out, okay, now what can we do with that energy? Yeah, let her just soak in it. So when we get those energies of, oh my God, this is amazing, our mind tends to go to, okay, what can I do with this? But just soaking in it, giving it space to anchor, right? Giving it space to embody that. And so the timing of that, I love it. And then you said, what else was it? Oh, you would drop the seed of the, I wonder what, and then just instead of having a conversation around it, you just let her have that, like you said, dropping the seed and let her be with it. Cause and so what if we also did that with ourselves instead of, okay, I'm getting an awareness of, oh my God, this would be awesome. Now let me sit and figure it out. Okay. right? But what if I can just be with that seed and it will show up? Right. And so you gave her the space. I love that. It's so that, like, if we gave ourselves more space, when the universe drops the seed, we tend to go, what do I do with this? Instead of just giving ourselves space to be with it. And so had you perhaps, and listen, we've all done it. I do it. We all do it. Probably going to do it again, but I'll be more aware of it now because of this conversation. So thank you. What if instead, when we just share a contemplate something for someone to contemplate, or a what if, or I wonder, and walk away, instead of, so what do you think about that? What does it bring up for you? It tends to be where we'll go. What does that bring up for you? Well, you're not answering me. What do you think of it? No, let them be with it. When the universe drops a seed, let us be with it. It's our mind that then wants to make it mean something, because we're meaning making machines. It's our mind that thinks we need to do something with it. The magic will show up if we give it space to. But as soon as I start doing the human thing, which, hey, we're all human. As soon as I do the now what do I do with this, right? That's when we get in the way of the next step showing up for us. Right. And remembering that it's an experiment. It's all an experiment, right? We're here for the adventure. And yeah. And so I love that you gave her space to be with it instead of, no, this is what we're doing. And, letting her know that she's part of that choice. And guess what? Yes, you knew that you were going to be the one to make the big choice and the decision at the end. Yet you took her with you, so you were aware of her energy and her vibe, and there's no way that didn't influence you and your choice on what you were going to choose for her. Had you thought a school was great when you were visiting and she hated it, you wouldn't have put her there, right? So I know that you were influencing her and she was influencing you. It's a beautiful thing. Right? Like I said,
100%. It's co-creative. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And she's highly emotional, as a lot of our kids are. And so I knew that there was going to be strong reactions, and we can navigate those together if they come up. But also, I did have the gift of time in this particular scenario. And so allowing for the spaciousness just allowed that ability for her to not have those strong emotional reactions and just process. And sometimes that time isn't available, right? So sometimes it's a quick decision and we need to make the right choice. And, if she's running across the street and there's a car coming, I'm not going to give her spaciousness. Right. There's quick decisions that have to be made. And, but it's just, I love how you tied that back to how we are with ourselves, and, really looking at what spaciousness we can give ourselves. And I think, for me, and I know for you, leaning into the energy, tuning into the energy, following the energy is just life changing. Our mind, to your point, wants everything to have a finality. It wants to be, everything's compartmentalized. Everything is locked in and closed in. And so it takes a strength to be able to recognize that that's our mind looking for that quick conversation, that quick decision, that quick, implementation, execution, conversation, whatever it is, and recognize, okay, this is my mind, but actually there's an energy available here for me through whatever decision I'm making or whatever I'm navigating in partnership with someone else, where change is happening. And can I tune into that energy? Can I soften and relax into it? And that it guides you when you practice it and learn how to do it.
You know what? Thank you for bringing in the word softening in this conversation, because it is that, right? Which is the opposite of forcing something, right? So I'm going to ask you a question, love. So you work in the corporate, and you're not just sitting behind a desk. You are one of the leaders. So when you have to implement something, I'm just curious, how do you apply this in your work? Like when you have to tell, like you said, there's times when we can give ourselves the space, but it never feels like we can. It never feels like we can give ourselves the space because it has to happen right now. But even in that, if we can simply soften, knowing that there has to be a choice made now, if we can soften and not let that whole, I got to make a choice thing, nobody's going to like it, but it has to be done, and not let that shrink us, when we can soften in the knowing that, yeah, this is who I am and this has to be done, and not shrink to the what has to be done, but remember who we are, knowing that this has to be done. So I don't know if I just kind of answered my own question. But yeah, that happens, right? Ask a question, ask and you shall receive. And so, yeah. So do you have anything to add about how you personally, or what you witness in the corporate world? Like, how do people apply this in their lives when they have to, I don't know, I was going to say fire somebody. That might be a little extreme, but
Yeah.
um,
So, I would say for me, it's very similar, right? So there's the old style of leadership that is very authoritative, and that still exists today, where people come in and they have that that strong ego, I guess, where they really feel that they're the person in power, and they make the decision and you just live with it and off we go. It's not as common as it was even 10 years ago or 20 years ago when I joined the corporate world. There's a lot more, I think, emotional awareness and a lot more understanding now, as leaders of what's required for change. We hear a lot in the corporate world. We learn a lot as leaders about the change management curve and how it's very similar to grieving. There's a lot of content about that out there, where it's like you go into, if it's a big change and you're having to roll it out, then people, the immediate, response might be denial, right? One of the early stages is denial. I'm just in denial about it. We're navigating something at work right now that is really, really big and like impacting people's lives. So you can watch them go through that curve. It's like that first outrage, then there's a period of denial, and then they go into, eventually it's acceptance, and anger comes before that. So it's helpful to go in to lead from that perspective of understanding how people navigate it. In the corporate world, sometimes we're making big changes that are very influential, and we try to give that space, right? So that we can then drop the seeds and help them, adapt to that understanding of the idea, or the acceptance of the idea before it's implemented. Sometimes things have to be quick. And then in that case, then it's more of we execute, and then as a good people leader, then you're leaning into your people and you're helping them through that change management after the change has already been announced or executed on. But it's really about understanding that everyone goes through this emotional curve, and everyone goes through it in their own way at their own time. So I always think, as a good people leader, you understand that people are different, right? And they're going to be navigating that differently. And so again, for me, it's energy, right? So then I feel into the energetics of each individual, and I lead myself differently with each person based on where I can sense that they're at. I don't know if that answered your question.
100,000 billion%. That is so beautiful. I love it. And so you're allowing people to be where they're at, just like you did with your daughter. You're allowing them to be where they're at, and you're meeting them where they're at. And so, yeah, so you started again by, did you say you started this project, this one that you're working on now, by planting seeds, or you kind of let them know what's happening and you're navigating each individual as they need? Because guess what? It's going to trigger something different for everyone. So you can't just have a blanket, this is what we're doing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I almost teared up when, I had the inner tears when you were talking about how it is starting to change out there. That is just like, my God, thank you for being one of the pioneers that's contributed to that collective field.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, it is beautiful to see. Yeah, how much more understanding there is. And so I'm navigating many things
Compassion.
at work right now where there's change. And so the big one I was talking about was there was no seeding in advance. There was a communication of the decision because that was the best approach in this particular situation. And then now, but a lot of advance notice, and now it's happening. But now we're leading them, everybody, through their own navigation of the change management. But there's there's a couple other initiatives that I'm working on where there's seed dropping before we, formally announce the change. And so then that way there's a little bit more acceptance because the seeds have been dropped already.
Oh man, you are so helping everybody there. I can just tell. Like they are so lucky to have you. They are so lucky to have you. So you are being a healer extraordinaire and coach extraordinaire in the workplace, like you are, and that's the example for me that the world needs to see and know that it's possible. And so you pioneering in that, that changes the whole field of the collective. You know that, right? And so, just really soak in the appreciation that many of us have for you being able to be that in the workplace. And it's so huge. Like I do it in the world that I'm working in, you do it in the world you're working in. And yeah, the whole thing, what I'm hearing is compassion, recognizing that people are people and giving them space, whether it's here, we're dropping the bomb and now we're giving you space to be with it, or dropping the seeds, which is giving them space to be with it, right? They probably have an idea of what's coming, right? The whole thing, but you're dropping the seeds. So you're giving them little bits and pieces how to be with it in advance. So whether it's dropping the bomb or whether it's the dropping the seeds, it's giving them space either way. So it's not dropping the bomb and then walking away, right? It's dropping the bomb, so to speak. Another word for bomb, dropping the new adventure that's going to impact other people's lives. Because, we all know how many people go to work and all of a sudden there's a sign on the door and that company's closed. That is not a kindness. It's not a kindness to the employee who thought they were getting a paycheck next month. Like and there's so many businesses that have done it that way. So it's so beautiful to witness and hear that it's starting to show up different. And, that is just so inspiring. That just makes me, I took a big sigh as you were talking about it. And when you said you started to notice a change in the corporate world a few years ago, I'm like, oh, because I wouldn't see that change. And a lot of people wouldn't see that change to know it's happening, because you would see the change because you are elbows deep in it, right? Yeah, it's just so beautiful to know that is happening. Hello, folks, it is happening, right?
Yeah, it's an evolution.
I love where this conversation went. Yeah, it
I
is.
know, who knew?
It's who knew, right? And yeah.
And it all comes from us, right? Like we become the change that you want to see in the world, right? It's all about like in those small moments. And that's something that I've really been anchoring in for myself lately. It's like in my interaction with my daughter, in the things that I lead myself through with others in the workplace, like that is creating a change. And so it's not like I'm not Oprah Winfrey with, world famous and whatnot. But this is just as impactful. And if everybody did that, if everyone, not that I'm impactful, you know what I mean? Like every one of us has our own way to contribute. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. I'm taking myself off a pedestal and saying like, we all have these opportunities, right? And I can continue to do more and we all can do more, but it's like that self reflection of like in those small exchanges that we have, like, okay, my daughter's changing schools. That's not saving the planet in any way, but it is, right? Like as we start to all lead ourselves differently in these exchanges, it contributes to that evolution and elevation of consciousness. So welcome that contemplation for everyone listening.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is like, what if we all put ourselves on a pedestal and put everyone else on the pedestal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And would we be able to see that everything is an impact? Even how I drive is an influence and an impact. I don't know why the drive came up, but it did. Anyway, yeah, so we're all an impact. We're all an influence. And what if we put ourselves and everyone on the pedestal, and knowing that we do influence, whether we're having a good day, a bad day, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But yeah, thank you so much for this conversation, Veronica. You've probably given a lot of people a lot of hope here.
Oh, thank you.
For the world.
And thank you for the conversation. And thank you to everyone listening. And if you enjoyed this and you think someone might benefit from it, we would love it if you'd share with friends, families, loved ones. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll take all the love, because that's how we grow and get the word out. So thank you so much. And thank you, Kim. Until next time.
Thank you. And let's add the unstoppable piece. If you would like to work with Veronica on her own or me on my own, we're available. Also, we have a program where we work together. So it's like a threesome, and it's called Unstoppable. So look for the link for a 3-month program of emotional frequency and energetics and coaching and whatever else shows up.
Whatever else comes up.
Unstoppable.
Yep. All right. Thank you.